Okay guys, welcome back again to the channel. So today I wanted to announce a new series of videos that I'm gonna do on my channel. Basically where I show you guys how you can at least double the performance of your GPU with only $7. I'm pretty sure you have already heard about this now because it's been a while that this application is around and yes, it is frame generation. It is done basically by software, but the GPU still has to do the work. So it's normal frame generation, let's call it this way, but it is activated through a specific application. In this case, the application is obviously lossless scaling. So it's this application in here. It costs only $7, as I told you. One of the reasons that I also decided to make this video and this series of videos is because if you hurry, you will get it 40% off, and right now, as of 5th of October, you can get it with only $4. Anyway, it's an amazing application in my opinion, because as I mentioned at the beginning, you at least can double the performance of your GPU. And again, yes, it's frame generation. If you don't like it, you can skip this video, you can skip this series. It's totally normal, but in my opinion, again, it's totally worth it because you are practically getting a new GPU for only $7, 4.13 right now at this moment. And how this application works, well, it's self-explanatory, like Nvidia and AMD they are doing with frame generation. Basically, this does almost the same thing. It does it through software, of course, not directly linked to the game engine, but it does it so well that actually this is the main reason why it makes it worth it, because you can use this application for any GPU. It's not limited to the newest and greatest GPUs on the market. Anyone can use this. So basically, again, you can at least double the performance of your GPU with only $7. And for people that are on a budget, yeah, this is, well, again, practically amazing. Okay, with that out of the way, I just want to mention one last thing. Unfortunately, I make my videos without a script, so I ramble on and on and on. So I do apologize about that because I tend to over explain myself to what I'm trying to say, and of course at the end of the day end up rumbling a little bit too much. So if this bothers you, again, I'm sorry, but I'm here to try and help you guys and explain as best as I can. In this case, my current experience that I'm having with this application. Okay, then let's rapidly try and move on. We're gonna start today testing the Big Daddy Cyberpunk. As you see, my current system is a Ryzen 5 5600X, which is a little bit underwhelming for my GPU. The GPU is a good old, I should say, RTX 3080 with 10 gigabytes of VRAM. And yeah, with this GPU, actually, I don't have to upgrade to a new series and break the bank, because with this application I can technically play almost any game that is today on the market, and I can play it at around 100 or over 100 FPS depending on the game, of course, and crank everything up. And some games, even AAA titled games, I can go from 1440p, I can go up to 4K and enjoy everything maxed out. I mean, I know many people are for high FPS shooters, fast-paced games, which technically this application is not for that, but I'm more of a AAA title, story-driven mode game, a little bit of fighting, and unfortunately I'm a sucker for graphics, and I'd rather crank everything up than and getting 60 to 100 FPS or maybe 100 to 120 FPS than going for 160, 200 200, 300 FPS and lower the settings. I would rather go for maximum graphical settings instead of very high FPS. And this application lets me do that. But unless I don't run out of VRAM. So the first thing, of course, you need to do, well, to get the application, I'm pretty sure you all know how to do that. You just buy it, you download it on your PC, you just open it, and then you just activate it. For the rest, what I tend to do, first of all, is play with the game that I want to use this application on and find the maximum settings that I can crank up before running out of memory. With my current PC right now, I can play at 1440p with everything maxed out on ultra, field of view at 90% because default I think it's around 80, so it will hit a little bit the performance but not too much. Everything maxed out as I told you, but no RTX unfortunately. But I can play at above 60 FPS minimum with my current settings. If I enable this application with 2x, because you can go 2x more performance, you can go 3x, 4x, but if your system cannot handle it more than 2x, it's going to be difficult. You need to have a beefier CPU and GPU, of course, to be able to handle that. So 2x, it's my recommendation for most people because you can double the performance without having any problems, because going 3x or more, you can get more artifacts as frame generation generally does. I mean, any frame generation, not only this one. So you need to keep this in mind. After I find the maximum settings that I can use without running out of VRAM, the next thing, come on bro, pass that part, okay. The next thing that I go for is, of course, FPS. And I would highly recommend you tune the settings of your current PC to be at least above 60 FPS minimum. So in this case, you will have a base of above 60 FPS. So when you enable lossless scaling and go for 2x or 3x, whatever you might choose and whatever works best for you. But again, 2x is going to be the best way to enjoy smooth gameplay without getting many artifacts. Again, after you find that, then having a base of a minimum above 60 FPS, it's going to be a very, very good experience. Even if you play FPS games, I mean, it's not terrible. You can still play, just don't pretend to play competitively. That's what I'm trying to say. Because even NVIDIA's and AMD frame generation doesn't work in that case, going for high FPS competitive gameplay. No one uses that, so we need to keep this in mind. Frame generation, not only this one, but any frame generation today doesn't make miracle. It makes the gameplay smoother, but the feel on the mouse or the inputs is still going to be the base FPS that you are getting. So if you're getting 60 FPS base and you crank it up to 120, 130, 140, the inputs are gonna feel like 60 FPS, but you're gonna get the smoothness of 120, 140, or whatever the new FPS it's going to be. So you also need to keep this in mind. So after we find the maximum VRAM usage, what I recommend for the VRAM usage is you keep it at least 1 GB under the maximum of your GPU. For example, my GPU is a 10 GB VRAM card, and I like to keep it at around 8 to 9 GB of VRAM usage with the settings that I want to use. Of course, this is for AAA heavy title games, because some games can use only 3 or 4 GB of VRAM. It depends on that. But you can, in those cases, you can crank up the resolution to 4K and enjoy more graphical goodness, let's call it this way, even with high FPS. So that's the main goal here. And after we find the VRAM usage for the specific game, in this case Cyberpunk, as I told you, I like to keep it at around 8 GB of VRAM usage. Then I go play with the settings to stay with the FPS above 60 average, or let's say above 60 minimum. It should be better to be above 60 minimum. In my case, as you saw all this time on the screen, with everything maxed out, 1440p DLSS quality, I can easily stay above 60 FPS minimum, not average. So my average is going to be around 70 to 80. It depends on the area that I am. So as you saw at the beginning, in light areas, open areas, I can get above 100 FPS, and in crowded areas or high intense fighting scenes, I can get to around 65 to 70 FPS. It depends, but the average is always going to be above 70 or 80 FPS. Of course, one other thing that we need to keep in mind is CPU and RAM, because if you have only 16 gigabytes of VRAM, that is going to be your limited factor. If you're gonna have a way smaller GPU or CPU, sorry, in this case, that can't keep up with your GPU, that is going to be your next limiting factor. So you need to check on the specific games and with your specific settings to be able to get these two things. Not running out of VRAM, and of course trying to be above 60 FPS minimum. This is the best way to enjoy not only this application but any frame generation, actually, I would say. And I mean, I'm not the first one to say this, but yeah, this is my experience and I'm sharing it with you. I'm enjoying every game with these settings, and the maximum I go with frame generation on lossless scaling is always 2x. I don't need more than that. I'm not a high FPS shooter or competitive guy. I just want to enjoy graphics. As I told you, I'm a sucker for graphics and resolution, so I prioritize resolution and visual quality over very high FPS. But if you really wanted to and your PC can handle it, you can get very high FPS too. It depends on the game, PC, and the settings that you play, of course. So okay, as I told you at the beginning, I'm rambling on and on again, sorry about that. So let's get into the meat of the point. As I told you, with my current settings right now, I am above 70, and if we go and enable a lossless scaling, we have two ways to do that. First thing, you need to go to your video settings and you need to be in the windowed borderless mode, or borderless mode. It depends on the game that you are using. You need to be borderless. If you are on full screen, then lossless scaling is not going to work. You're going to get a black screen. So if you get a black screen or your PC crashes, then definitely this is the culprit. From full screen, you need to go to window borderless or windowed mode if the game doesn't have this option. But yeah, every game should have this option. After you have done this, basically you just go to lossless scaling, open it. I don't move anything here. I will not explain anything because you don't have to do anything. You just need to change the multiplier if you want it to 2, 3, or 4, whatever it would be. But as I told you many times, 2x is the sweet spot to get very smooth gameplay with no artifacts and not laggy inputs. So you need to keep this in mind. After you do this, then you just hit scale. You go to the game that you want to scale up. In this case, we're going to scale up Cyberpunk. You're not going to be able to see the new FPS on overlays like OBS or other applications. That's why it shows up the base FPS and the new FPS that this application with its own frame generation is creating. And I don't know if you will notice it on video, but the smoothness, it's really good actually, compared to even 100 FPS that I was getting native without any frame generation. But maybe we can look it a little bit better. So let's just go into a main street here. Okay, so we are on a main street here. You also have to keep in mind that I'm also recording. I have NVIDIA Broadcast open, I have OBS open recording, I have lossless scaling. So the performance right now, it's at least 5 to 10% worse than what it should be if you just play the games. But here we have lossless scaling activated with 60 FPS base and around 110, 120 frames generated. And again, I don't know if you will capture from the YouTube video, but on my screen it's really smooth. But the inputs, of course, it's for 60 FPS, not for 120 FPS. But the smoothness, it's really good actually. So let's deactivate now frame generation. And yeah, I can immediately tell that this is not as smooth. Although the FPS it's higher, at 70 to 75, let's call it. It's not smooth, so let's just try and make it as linear as possible without lossless scaling. Now let's go activate it. Again, now with lossless scaling, yes, it's much smoother, much smoother, of course. And yeah, this is what you want. In this case, I can even go to 4K with this game. I need to crank down a little bit the settings because I will run out of VRAM, not of performance, because my PC can run it at 4K. But it runs out of VRAM, unfortunately. I can also enable RTX, but if I enable RTX, unfortunately, I cannot go 4K. I need to keep it at 1440p, go maybe to DLSS performance mode, and maybe crank some things down. But believe me, I can play with path tracing in that case. Or you know what? Yeah, let's just do it right now. But so I will activate everything. I will restart the game with path tracing enabled, and I will show you guys that you can still play. Okay guys, I am back. So now I have enabled path tracing, but I have gone into performance mode with the DLSS, of course, because the main thing, as I told you, is run out of VRAM. But you know what? Why not? Let's just try it at quality, just see how it goes. Also, again, keep in mind that I'm recording. Now I'm getting around 45 to 46 FPS without lossless scaling, but of course we are path tracing, which is not recommended for this kind of system, but just to show you guys basically a little bit how it works. After that, we just enable lossless scaling and see what do we get. Oh, and look at that. We're getting 70 FPS. The image is smoother. We're getting a little bit of artifacts, of course. But again, the feel, because since we have a base of 35 FPS, the input feel, the controls are gonna feel like 30 FPS. But I mean, if you want to just enjoy path tracing, it can be done. You can cruise around, you can do some light missions, maybe not go into very high intense fighting scenes or in the middle of the city where there are many NPCs, but I just wanted to show you guys that it's doable if you really want to do it, even with an old GPU like a 3080. Of course, if you want to play with a slower GPU, you need to keep in mind the limits, of course, but you can still enable RTX, of course, because here we are talking with a pinnacle of basically path tracing. You cannot go higher than this, but if I just go RTX, no path tracing, I can easily play at above 60 FPS, no problem. As you can see here, 55. Of course, I will go around 40 in heavy intensive situations, but again, it's doable. It's doable. So this is the amazing thing about this application. For lols, let's just do one last thing. Let's just go with 3x the performance and see how it does. Now we are getting 3x the FPS. As you see, we are at 140, 150, but again, the base FPS is going to be lower to achieve that amount of FPS, and of course the artifacts are going to be more noticeable. The more X you go higher, the more noticeable the artifacts are going to be, and the more heavy intense the game is going to be, not only on your GPU, but having higher FPS, you're going to need the power from your CPU, RAM, and all of your system basically. So it's not a GPU matter at this point. Everything on your system must keep up with your high FPS. So you, depending on the game, you can use 2x, 3x, and of course depending on the settings. So again, sorry this was a little bit long. I mean, yeah, maybe too long for many people, but this is my current experience with this application. It's amazing. I'm enjoying it. I can crank everything up, and you can do too, even with a lesser GPU. You just need to lower a little bit the settings. You can lower a little bit the resolution from where I am, but definitely you will use more more settings that you were using up until now for only, remember guys, for only $7. You can basically, in most cases, double the performance of your current GPU. So you are buying a new GPU for only $7. Today it's $4, so I hope you can get it. Anyway, that was it guys for today. Thank you very much. I hope this was helpful. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and all those good stuff. Stick around with the channel because I will try every game that I have on my possession and see how they do with this application. So hopefully the other videos are gonna be a little bit shorter. That's why this was a little bit longer, because it was a little bit an introduction also to the settings and the application. And if you have a specific game that you want me to try, definitely let me know. I will give it a try. You can look at how it performs and then decide if you want to buy this application or not. But again, in my opinion, it's totally worth it. It's this is not a sponsored video. I don't have an affiliate link for that because it doesn't exist. I'm just sharing you guys my experience, and since I am enjoying it very much and I can enjoy almost any game cranked up at the max, I wanted to share this thing with you. Okay guys, that was it. Thank you very much for your attention, and as usual, I'll catch you on the next one. Bye bye.